It's my pleasure to introduce Dr. Eman Al-Zboon. Dr. Al-Zboon is a full professor of special education at the Hashemite University in Jordan and a 2024-25 Fulbright visiting scholar at the University of Northern Iowa. There, she's conducting comparative research on inclusive education systems under the prestigious Fulbright grant. Dr. Al-Zboon is a nationally ranked researcher in special education and has published over 55 works on inclusive education, assistive technology, curriculum development, and disability rights. Dr. Al-Zboon's current Fulbright research compares inclusive practices in U.S. and Jordanian schools, building on over a decade of leadership, including her tenure as department chair at the Hashemite University, where she established Jordan's first assistive technology lab for students with disabilities. She also serves as an expert consult for national and international organizations and has secured multiple competitive grants to support her work. So with that, it is my pleasure to turn it over to Dr. Al-Zboon to share her work, and I will be monitoring the chat. So if you have questions, feel free to drop them in the chat, and we'll share them with Dr. Al-Zboon to respond to.
Thank you, Dr. Jennifer. Good evening from Iowa, and good morning or good afternoon to everyone joining from around the world. It is a great honor for me to be here with you. I want to thank CEC and Fulbright Commission, University of Northern Iowa, and Hashemite University to give me this chance to present my research. I really appreciate this opportunity to share my work with all of you today. Thank you again. My research focus on inclusive education practices for students with disabilities in Jordan and the United States of America. And I focus on this research in lesson learned and recommendations for improvement because my background was in the Ministry of Education for 10 years. So I always focus on how I can use my research in improving the reality of students with disabilities. So the agenda for the presentation for today, introduction, objective of my research, methodology. Then I will start it with the comparison between Jordan and US in many domains. And after this comparison, we will, in the end of the presentation, talk about conclusion and recommendation for improvement. So the presentation objectives, the first one, compare inclusive education settings, support rules, and diagnostic process in both countries. I also identify systematic challenges and practices in both countries. Also, we will focus on provide actionable recommendation, especially in practical recommendation. Also, highlight lessons learned to improve inclusion in both countries and on all the countries around the world. Regarding the methodology of this research, I used a qualitative approach by using interview with 44 teachers, administrators, and leaders in both countries. And I used semi-structured interview. Also, I used observations to observe classroom practices in many schools in Jordan and in the US. Also, I used desk review to make a literature review and review for report and any publication from, for example, Jordanian Ministry of Education, Higher Council of People with Disabilities, and other organizations, international organizations that are active in this domain. The first domain of comparison between Jordan and US related to the policy and regulation in each country. Regarding Jordan, there is many development related to the legal and policy in Jordan. For example, the last one and most important one is constitutional recognition. As in 2022, there's a modification in the Constitution of Jordan. And the most important thing related to the special education and rights of people with disabilities, that Article 6 focus on disability rights. So was a huge development in the rights of people with disabilities in Jordan, because as we know, the constitution is considered a basic law of any country. Also in Jordan, the very important law is the law number 20 for the year 2017 on the rights of persons with disabilities. Then also the strategy for inclusive education. And based on this strategy, the goal will be achieve 10% of mainstream enrollment for students with disabilities by 2030 in Jordan. Also, there is other new things related to the Jordan, such as transferring the responsibility of Al-Manar Education Center from the Ministry of Social Development to the Ministry of Education. Then also in the 2025, there is also very important achievement in Jordan by launching the regulation of Royal Academy for Inclusive Education. Related to the United States of America, United States of America has a long history in inclusive education, and there's a lot of laws and acts related to the people with disabilities, for example, IDEA, ADA, and other policy related to the people with disabilities. So if we want to make a comparison between Jordan and US, related to the start of inclusion, all of us know that inclusion in the US started maybe in 1975 by launching the Education for All Handicapped Children. Then also in 1990, there is also the idea that all of us learn about it, especially for least restrictive environment and individualized education programs. Also in 2050, Every Student Succeed Act maintains inclusion focus, then also No Child Left Behind, and many strategies and related to the inclusive education. So we'll note that there is advanced and systemized policy in the US. In Jordan also, we start informal inclusive education in 2020 by launching the 10-year strategy for inclusion based on the Article 18 of the law on the rights of persons with disabilities. Also, after that, we achieve many achievements related to the inclusive education. For example, Jordan achieved 7.4% related to the students with disabilities who enrolled in inclusive education. So we note from this comparison related to the policy, Jordan is in the early stage, and there is ongoing development related to the inclusive education. But in comparison with short period, we note that there is a huge difference and development in inclusive education. So the key differences between Jordan and US, Jordan has constitutional recognition of disability rights and national strategy aiming for inclusive education. In the US, from my information, there isn't any mention of rights of people with disabilities in the Constitution of United States of America. The US relies on strong laws such as IDEA, ADA, And Jordan recently created Academy to enhance inclusive education. Also, there is some new decisions in the US, maybe in the upcoming years, could shift oversight of education to the Health and Social Services department in the US. So this maybe will affect the quality of the special education services for students with disabilities. So the lesson learned from both countries, we note that Jordan experience show that constitutional recognition alone are insufficient because we note that both countries has a strong policy related to the inclusive education. But this will not be enough to achieve inclusive education with international standards. So there is important to focus on the coordination, partnership, resource allocation, because we know that in Jordan we have many economical issues that maybe prevent us from achieve all the goals we put it in the inclusive education. Also, the US model highlights the importance of legal frameworks. Also, there is a follow-up related to the providing services for students with disabilities. Also, there is some um, achievement in Jordan that maybe will other countries benefit from this, such as launching the regulation of Royal Academy, which will be a leadership or umbrella for inclusive education in Jordan, will focus on policy development and research in the domain of inclusive education in Jordan. So Royal Academy will be focused only in inclusive education. So we hope that we will notice development in inclusive education in Jordan in the upcoming years. The second domain of comparison between Jordan and US types of inclusive education and setting. In Jordan, inclusive education, the current reach of services in Jordan, the total schools in Jordan is 4,000. Disability receptive schools, the Ministry of Education categorized the schools for two types. The first one, receptive schools, and these are 1,000 schools that there's students with disabilities there, but without any modifications or procedures for all types of disabilities. The other type of schools is Pioneer Inclusive Schools, and it's 138 schools. And these schools fully occupied to accommodate all types of disabilities. So we note that not all the Jordanian schools consider inclusive schools. Related to the setting in the inclusive education in Jordan, the first setting is mainstream classroom with support teachers. The second one is the resource room, but in recently there is official decisions by Jordanian Ministry of Education to transfer teacher of resource room from special education specialization cadre to support teacher working with students with disabilities to support inclusive education in Jordan. So the new title of resource room is multidisciplinary rooms for inclusive education. The other type is special education units, and there is some schools has special education units for students with severe disabilities. Jordan always adopt pilot inclusive schools to support inclusive school by starting and implementing inclusive school in specific schools and select specific schools to make sure that there is all the standards related to the inclusive education available in these schools because of economical issue related to the Jordanian community. Related to the US educational settings, all the schools in the US inclusive schools under IDEA, their support for support all the students with disabilities, unlike Jordan's, there is a selective model related to the specific criteria to select these schools and consider it as a pilot schools and pioneering schools and providing all the requirement for inclusive education. Also for educational settings in the US, there is many settings and alternatives for students with disabilities. The first one is general education classroom with supports, as most students with disabilities spend most of their day in the mainstream classes. In this setting, there is a co-teaching by support teacher. Also, there is accommodations in this classroom using AI, using assistive technology and other material. Also, there is a peer educator support and peer educator maybe one-to-one, maybe small group, and they support the teachers and with all the students in the classroom, especially students with disabilities. Also, the other alternative is resource rooms. Till now, US has a resource room in inclusive education schools because there is a need to support students with disabilities for a specific time, and it is this consider a pull-out services for specialized instruction to students who need support, especially in reading and in math. The third one is a specialized program, or we can call it self-contained classroom. And these are for severe disabilities. And not all the US schools have this self-contained classroom. And in this classroom, they adopted extended core curriculum by focusing on life skills and adaptive behavior and also functional academics, also focus on behavioral support programs by providing support for students with disabilities, especially students with emotional problems. The other one, also alternative placement. In the US, there's also virtual learning for students with disabilities, as this is considered very important for students who can't come to school. So this option also available in the US, and it's focused especially on the students in the not in the primary schools. Also, the other option is home instruction, and this also available for some students who can't go to school because of medical or behavioral needs. So we note that there is hybrid models in the US by focusing on the online, maybe learning for students with disabilities. So we note the key differences in the inclusive education setting domain that Jordan adopt selective blended model with mainstream classes support by support teacher, and there's some self-contained units. Also, we focus on the pilot inclusive schools. Homeschoolings in Jordan is not widely established or formally recognized, and maybe I think that Jordanian families not ready to adopt homeschooling for students with disabilities. Also, in the US, universal inclusion mandate by law, most students spend majority of their time in the general class room by support of support teacher and peer educator in the resource room, also providing virtual and home schooling. This is the main differences between Jordan and US in the setting that available for students with disabilities. So the lessons learned from this domain related to the inclusive education settings that Jordan gradually transition supports inclusion but limits full inclusion. Also, US till now there isn't a full inclusion for students with disabilities in the US. There's many challenges related to the achieve this in the US and in Jordan. The US model ensures broad inclusion but needs strong resources. Jordan is improving by adopting multidisciplinary support like the US. Also, there is flexible options in the US that uh, maybe it's aligned with students with disabilities needs. Also in Jordan, NGO and international support, international organization are key in Jordan for reaching inclusive education for students with disabilities. So we in Jordan always say that without support of our partner international organization that support Jordan and achieve inclusive education, we will not reach what we reach now related to the inclusive education. The third domain that also we will focus on make a comparison between Jordan and US related to the support system available in Jordan and in the US. Related to the Jordan, there is also multidisciplinary teams. We have support teachers, and they are the basic of inclusive efforts in general classroom. But the problem in the support teachers, the full-time special education teacher and part-time teacher also available. So we have many of our support teacher, part-time teacher, and there is many challenges related to the availability of part-time teacher. Maybe we can discuss this later. The other also very important support in the inclusive education shadow teachers. Shadow teachers in Jordan hired by families or international organization, and it must not funded by Ministry of Education or government. We have a problem in shadow teacher. Maybe it's related to the economical issues in Jordan. And in the US, we know that there is able educators in every single classroom. The other also very important member of the support teams, therapists. We have in Jordan multidisciplinary team. There is also occupational therapy, physical therapy, speech therapy, also visual rehabilitation specialist. But the problem we have lack of these teams in Jordan because maybe I also to the economical issue in Jordan. Also related to the diagnostic teams in Jordan, based on the law of the rights of people with disabilities in Jordan, Ministry of Health is the responsible for diagnosis of people with disabilities. So in Jordan, we adopt medical model diagnosis, and Ministry of Health determine type and severity of disability. So this is the model adopted in Jordan. Related to the US support system, the professional supports inclusive education in Jordan. Also, there is a multidisciplinary team, and all of them collaborate. And in my research, using observations and using interview, the result indicated that there is a collaboration between all the teams of multidisciplinary teams that work in inclusive education. And this team members are special education teachers that provide direct instruction, modify curriculum, build the IEP with the other of the team. Also, general education teacher. General education teachers in the US play a critical role in inclusive education. Also, there's support from AEA. AEA, it's a very amazing organization in the Iowa, and this example is from Iowa. And EAA support inclusive education by providing related service providers such as speech language, physiotherapy, occupational therapy, and they support students with disabilities in these schools. Also, there is psychologists and social workers that help teacher and conduct evaluation and support in health needs and psychological domain of students with disabilities. So we note that AI play a critical role in inclusive education in the US in Iowa. Also, in this research, the result also revealed that the AI social workers, social school psychologists, and special education consultants help students and help teachers in evaluation in IEP in many domains of inclusive education. Also, the other members, very important in the US, peer educator teachers who are available in a school in every single classroom in the US, and they help teachers and support teachers in teaching students with disabilities one-to-one assistance, or maybe smaller group, or maybe larger group. Also, the very important member of support team in the US, availability of consultants, special education consultant in the inclusive education, and they support teachers with this, teachers and students to assess students' need, guide IEP, and give advice to teachers to instruction strategy and other practices. Also, there is disability specific specialists based on the need of students. For example, specialist in autism or dyslexia, because there is specific maybe needs for these students. So we note that area education agencies in Iowa provided educational evaluations, while in Jordan, there is a medical model diagnosis. In the Iowa, there is focus in the educational evaluation to identify the performance level of students with disabilities. So the key differences between both two countries: Jordan support teacher provide direct help, but often lack advanced training. This based on the opinion of teachers of students with disabilities in inclusive education in Jordan. Also, shadow teacher providing support one-to-one, because this shadow teacher is focused on only one students based on the family interest, or maybe family, because family funded this specific teacher. Also, maybe the shadow teacher maybe can be the mother of students with disabilities. This is also available in Jordan. Therapists mainly work from regional centers with limited school access. Also, the diagnosis process focus on medical diagnosis, not educational planning. While in the US, there is focus on the educational needs of students with disabilities. There is a lot of tools that use to evaluate educational need of students with disabilities. Also, the research indicated that there is insufficient training and competences of general education teachers. Most of the special education teachers said that we have a lot of training in inclusive education, but we have a problem in the training of general education teacher pre-service and in-service. In the US, there is a multidisciplinary team, include special and general teacher, educator, therapists, as we discussed. Also related service provider. Also the support of AAA is amazing in the Iowa. Also educator formally support inclusion under teacher supervision. So if we want to also to make comparison in this domain related to the support of students, we note that in Jordan, there is relies on shadow teachers funded by families or international organization, and this is creating an equity, because there is some students has shadow teacher, other students don't have shadow teacher. While in the US, provide school funded support, the fund is from school. So this may be ensuring more equitable access to students with disabilities. Related to the assessment approach, In Jordan, there is adopted of medical diagnosis to guide services. In the US, uses of educational evaluation to build IEPs. Related to the team-based services, in the Jordan, there is limited coordination between schools and specialists because maybe there is a lack of specialist or therapist. In the US, there is multidisciplinary IEP teams, include school staff and many specialists, and there is a collaboration and there is a time to make connection and collaborate to in the case of students with disabilities. Related to the staffing and capacity, Jordan faces shortage in trained therapists and special educators and general teachers. In the US, also there is challenges related to the staffing. Related to the staff, I also highlighting need in training of teachers with students with disabilities. The fourth domain is identification, diagnosis, evaluation, and placement of students with disabilities. In Jordan, there is specific procedures and systematic procedures that follow in Jordanian schools related to the identification of students with disabilities. Maybe it begins with concern raised by parents or teacher, then referral to the medical professional because, as I said, we focus on the medical evaluation and every students in the Jordanian schools have to go to the Ministry of Health to diagnosis and formal letter of the type and severity of disability. In the identification process, no systematic school-based screening available. Related to the diagnosis, there is regional medical centers focus on the type, severity, not educational needs of students. Also, in the research, many teachers said that there is problem in diagnosis and it's not correct diagnosis of the students with disabilities. So maybe we also have to work in this domain. Related to the teacher, they work on the informal assessment because there is lack of standardized tools in the Jordanian schools. Also, we have other decisions based on the evaluation of students with disabilities. By also, there is a committee reviews the medical reports from Ministry of Health. Then there is parent interviews and academic evaluation, performance, self-care skills of students with disabilities. Also, there is ongoing assessment for students with disabilities. We have many challenges related to the evaluation domain. Related to the United States, there is focus on the educational evaluation, and this evaluation conducted by school psychologists or special education consultant. They use many tools. There is some tools that is for screening, such as FastBridge, and there isn't focus on the medical diagnosis because they focus on the non-categorical approach. So in Jordan, we focus on categorical approach by identify this students has visual impairments or intellectual disability. In the US, they focus in the Iowa, in specific, they focus on non-categorical approach by focus on educational needs of students with disabilities. Also, they adopt multi-tiered support. Um, Anyone know about inclusive education, know about tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3 related to the providing services for students with disability. Also in the US, there is focus on the parental rights. And this is very important things. Many teachers in my research focus on the parents' role in this system. Also, the identification process, there is a child find. It's very important document. I read this document, and many of my research participants describe for me the child find procedures. It's amazing procedures for any countries want to follow the techniques used for child find. So it's very important to follow these techniques. Also, there's evaluation, and this is evaluation is school-based teams. In the school, there is team that focus on the standardized assessment. Also, there is IEP team review data and qualify the students to special education services. Also, the re-evaluation every 3 years to confirm the disability and the needs of students with disabilities. Related to the child find process in the Iowa, there is a lot of procedures related to the process start by concerning from academic struggles or developmental delays or other things, evaluation process. There is team to make assessments, observations, and medical reports require also multiple data sources. All of these purposes of this early disability identification and provided support for students with disabilities. So we note there is also systematic procedures in child fund in Iowa. Also, there is challenges related to the providing evaluation and assessment for students with disabilities in the US. So the key differences between Jordan and US in the domain of evaluation and identification. The first one related to the approach. We note that Jordan adopt medical model, health-based diagnosis, while in the US, they focus on the educational models. In my research, the teachers and principals and leaders in the districts focus on the educational model. And they said that this is the most important model that we used with students with disabilities because we don't want to know this student has autism or intellectual disabilities. We want to know what the educational needs for these students. Related to the diagnosis, we know in Jordan, conducted by Ministry of Education. Also, we have problems related to this diagnosis, while in the US, conducted in the school by the team, especially psychologist or special education consultant. Placement based on medical reports in Jordan, academic ability, and self-care. So to identify the alternative that suitable for these students in Jordan, there is focus on the medical reports in the interview, academic ability of the students, and the self-care. In the US, it's based on the IEP team decision. Related to the labeling, in Jordan, we follow categorical by disability type and severity. In the Iowa, non-categorical approach. Educator rule, we note that in Jordan, limited in assessment and placement decisions. In the United States, is central. Parental rights, limited in Jordan, strong legal rights in the US. Related to the screening, no systematic screening in the school. In Jordan, in the US, there is a universal screening and standardized screening in the US. So the lesson learned from this domain related to the evaluation and diagnosis, Jordan medical models limits educational relevance. A shift of school-based evaluation would benefit Jordanian inclusive schools. Teachers created informal assessment in Jordan reveal a need for standardized tools because in my research, many teachers say that we don't have any assessment tools. We need these tools to help us in evaluation of students with disabilities, and the majority rules of evaluation is in, in the shoulder of teacher in Jordan, while in the US there is a support from a psychologist, from special education consultant. So we note that US system empowers parents and educators to co-decide placements. Also, non-category labeling in Iowa support intervention because we know that there is some problem related to the categorical approach, such as labeling, name game, or stigma or other negative effect. So we note also both countries face delays, but causes diverse staffing shortage in the US. Also, teachers said that we need more better educators. We need more support teachers. Also, we note that AAA in the Iowa supports inclusive education in the US. So I think maybe other countries maybe benefit from providing such institution to support inclusive education. The other domain is related to the curriculum. Related to the Jordan, we know that Jordan adopted outcome-based curriculum. Related to the Jordanian teachers, the results revealed that there is lack of competences of special education teacher and general education teacher in conducting curriculum modification. So there is a problem also between the grade level of the students and the real level or performance level of the students. And there is a gap between these two levels. Also, there is a problem in the competences related to the using technological tools in the inclusive education schools in Jordan. Also, there is a problem in using AI application with students with disabilities. In the research, the teacher said that they make various adaptation approaches in the curriculum related to the dealing with students with disabilities, such as content reduction, alternative material, practical skills, focus on instruction in the functional life skills, for example, for students with intellectual disability or autism. Also, peer support is very important in inclusive education schools in Jordan. In the US, we know also that US adopted standard-based curriculum. Students with disabilities in Iowa have strong access to the general curriculum, and this result is based on interview and observation that I use in my research. So there is strong access to the general curriculum for students with disabilities in the Iowa. Also, teacher has strong competences related to the curriculum adaptation and modification for students with disabilities, but this depends on the experience in the resources or training or skills of these students. The reason that maybe affect on the competences of teacher in the curriculum adaptation in the US, specific in Iowa, strong professional standards because there is state certification requirement. Also, there is a specific focus on the specially designed instruction. Also, there is support from area education agencies. It's very important in support students, teachers. Also, teachers receive professional development in curriculum adaptation and in assistive technology and how to use AI and other technology. Also, the availability of assistive technology in the schools. So this also related to the economical aspects of country. Also, ongoing professional development is very important on the competences of teacher in the domain of curriculum adaptation. Related to the also use the technology. The research also revealed that there is use a technology. The very important uh, aspects of curriculum of students with disability in the US focus on the social emotional learning. And it's very important for students with disability focus on the mental health and in the social inclusion and in dealing with students with disabilities and positive support of the students with disabilities. So we note that American schools, inclusive schools, utilize more systematic approaches such as universal design for learning, alternative assessment, assistive technology. Also, there is individualized teaching method for students with disability. So the key differences between Jordan and US in the domain of curriculum, as we note, related to the adaptation approach, in Jordan, it's teacher dependent teacher, relies on content reduction and practical skills, limited training of the teacher, while in the US, it's systematic. Also, there is focus on the training of teacher in the curriculum adaptation to help students with disability to access to the general curriculum. So we have to focus on this domain in Jordan. Related to the use of technology, in Jordan, there is limited use of digital tools, AI, assistive technology. In the US, there is extensive use of technology and assistive. And during my observations of the school in Iowa, I noticed to use assistive technology, how to use AI in the modification of the curriculum, uh, using many application platform for teachers with of students with disabilities. So this is very important differences between Jordan and US. Related to the support and resources, in Jordan, there is lack uh, clear guidance or adaptation resources. In the US, I note that there is access to many material, to also there is many resources for training and many maybe such as Google Classroom and other technology that really benefit teacher in adopting curriculum. Related to the access to general curriculum, in Jordan, it is limited and inconsistent there is difference between teacher and their skills and help students with disabilities in access to general curriculum. In the US, it's comprehensive and structured. So there is also a differences between Jordan and US. Related to the assessment method, in Jordan, it's not well defined, and there is differences between teacher and the assessment method that related to the curriculum, because we know that there is a new trend in the world related to the how we can link evaluation with the curriculum, because it's very related and the curriculum-based evaluation. So in Jordan, it's different between teacher and not well defined, but in the US, there is alternative assessment using in the inclusive education school. So the lessons learned in this domain, we note that Jordan's teacher-led adaptation show commitment, but we have urgent need for improving the skills of teachers with disabilities, also in providing resources and digital tools. So we note in every single domain, the economical issue is related to the situation of inclusive education. Also in the US, we note that there is using of UDL and assistive technology, AI. Also, there is adaptation of the framework, and I really note how the American schools used UDL with the students with disabilities. Also using social emotional learning and alternative assessment in the US, I think it support also academic and emotional health of the students with disabilities. So we note that there is structured support in the US, and this makes significant differences in outcome of inclusive education. Related to the teacher preparation and peer educators' role. In Jordan, my research revealed that pre-surface training of a teacher in Jordanian, there is limited inclusion content in general programs. If we make analysis of pre-surface preparation teacher programs in Jordan, we note that there is limited inclusion content in general programs. So this is really very important for Jordanian schools if we want inclusive education to be success and achieve our goals, we have to prepare teacher pre-surface and in-surface. Related to the special education preparation program, we know that separate tracks for disability education. In the US, we know that there is major and minor. Maybe teachers study in the mathematics or in the history education, and the minor is in the special education. So in surface also training, there is also problematic in the workshop and problem in ongoing development. So in Jordan, we focus on the inclusive education only in the special education preparation program teacher. Related to the practical experience in Jordan, it's limited, but we have recent reforms aimed to extend the practicum beyond final semester. In Jordan, we focus on the final semester. There is 12 credit hours for students in the training in the field, but in the US, the training beginning in the maybe in the first year, second year. But recently in Jordan, for example, in the Hashemite University, there is a reform for program with support from USAID to also to improve the special education preparation program in Jordan. In the United States, inclusion foundations, it's integrated into general teacher education. So we note that all the general teacher education has courses related to the inclusion. Also, as I mentioned, that there is also minor and major. Maybe students in the university focus on students with disabilities. Also, field experience in the US is strong and early practice in inclusive classroom. Maybe in Jordan, if we, this is maybe will be other research to analyze also the where our students in the university do the practice in the inclusive classroom or in the private sectors or special education centers. So, inclusion training in Jordan, mainly in special education tracks. In the US, the standard in general education. So all the general education teachers in the US have courses related to the inclusive education. Also, the final semester in Jordan, it's the focus of the field experience. While in the US, there is ongoing training in inclusive education. Related to the peer educator role, also in Jordan, it's emerging, no standard certification, while in the US, it is established. Also, there is, for example, in the University of Northern Iowa, there is a purple pathway that focus on the peer educator's teacher to prepare them to be a teacher. Also related to the training, in Jordan, it's a project-based short courses in service training. It's maybe related also to the economical issue in Jordan. In the US, there is a formal degrees in this domain. career pathways in Jordan limited, but reforms underway. In the US, there is multiple structure, such as the Berber pathway in the University of Northern Iowa. Related to the policy support, in Jordan, there is inclusive education strategy. In the US, there is many law and acts related to this. Also, in my research, I note that there is a problem in Jordan related to the peer educator teacher. Also, in the US, there is problem related to the peer educator teachers. For example, terminology. In Jordan, we use معلم الظل or shadow teachers. In the US, school use para professionals or para educator. Related to the funding, in Jordan, it's family funded or international organization funded. In the US, it's school funded. Related to the qualification, no certification or certificate required in Jordan. So maybe it's a mother of students with disability said that I want to be a shadow teacher for my son. In the US, it is different from district to district, from school to school. But I think it's the minimum is a high school certificate to be a peer educator in the US. And I noticed that there is a problem in the training of peer educator in the US because in my research, many of the teachers said that we need a training in the domain of improving the skills of peer educator in the inclusive education schools in the US. Related to the rule definition, in the US, the peer educator in maybe one-to-one or a group, small group, large group. In the US, it's focused only in one-to-one support because the shadow teacher focus only in one student. In the US, a peer educator support the teacher in the classroom. Related to the IEP involvement, there is a problem in the involvement of peer educator in the IEP involvement. Also related to the case law for peer educator in Jordan, it's for one students. In the US, maybe one or more than one. So we have a problem in career pathways also in Jordan. In comparison to US, there is also clear career pathway. So the lesson learned from this domain, we know that Jordan's teacher training lacks inclusion integration, especially general education teacher. There is a lack of inclusion integration in the preparation program of this teacher. Also, the Jordan's field experience reforms are promising because such as in the Hashemite University, there is now reform of special education program. Related to the professionalism of peer educators in the US, based on my research, many teachers said that we need more training for peer educator or maybe in service or pre-service to improve the skills and knowledge of peer educator. Related to it also, we note that there is a problem in funding in peer educator in Jordan. Also, in the US, many of teachers said that we need more peer educator in the inclusive education of students with disabilities. So, you know that Jordan depend on the external partners, such as international organization. Maybe we need more help in teacher preparation programs to improve inclusive education of students with disability. So after all of these domains of my research, there is general lessons learned from this research. Related to the policy, there is legal recognition. We note that Jordan Constitution focus on the rights of people with disabilities in Jordan, but the problem is in enforcement mechanism to be sure that we really follow this legal recognition of the rights of people with disabilities. Because in Jordan and the US, there is a strong legal and regulation framework. Also, related to the inclusion requires infrastructure. There is also a problem in the infrastructure. When we compare Jordan to the US related to the infrastructure of inclusion, the infrastructure in the US school, it's very, there is all the standards for inclusive education. In the US, maybe we have specific pilot schools that have these standards. So we have also to focus on this infrastructure. Related also to the team-based support works, we note that in the US there is multidisciplinary teams. In the Jordan, we have fragmented services because there is responsibility for Ministry of Education, Higher Council of Rights of People with Disabilities, Ministry of Health, Ministry of Social Development. So I think this may be the solution of this, the Royal Academy of Inclusive Education. Maybe it will be the umbrella of all the services of students with disability in the domain of inclusive education. Also, school-based professional, we have to focus on the team-based support works for the professional in the schools. Related also, there is educational and medical models in Jordan and in the US. So we have also to focus on the educational needs of students. And there is a discussion between scholars and between educators about what we have to use, a categorical approach or non-categorical approach. Related also systematic curriculum framework. We have also problem related to the curriculum. We have to focus on the competences of teacher related to the curriculum of students with disabilities. Also, the teacher training is very important. As we discuss, there is a problem in the preparation of general teacher. So we have to focus on the also peer educator certificate. So the key takeaway information in this presentation, strong policies and collaborative implementation will lead to the sustainable inclusion. In Jordan, for example, we have strong policies, but we need resources. We need support from our partner maybe to conduct a collaborative implementation so we can achieve sustainable inclusion. Unfortunately, Jordan and US don't follow a full inclusive education model. Before I come here to the US, I think that US implement full inclusive education. Unfortunately, till now, US also has inclusive education, but not full inclusive education. There is a lot of alternative. I mean that not all the students with disabilities stay in the general classroom for all the day. There is a pull-out services. There is also self-content services for students with disabilities. So I think that we have to make some partnership, or maybe US can benefit from pilot schools to select some schools to start to implement full inclusive education. For example, in Italy, anyone interested in inclusive education and maybe can read about inclusive education, full inclusive education in Italy. There is a success story related to the full inclusive education. So I think we have to focus on the full inclusion maybe Jordan has a strong experience and selected systematic procedures to achieve inclusive education in Jordan. Maybe we can select specific schools to also to implement full inclusive education. Also, the US supports inclusive education in the law, but full inclusion, maybe we have problem in the commitment of full inclusive, because I think it's related also to the economical issue, because full inclusive needs more support teacher, better educator, uh, money modification in the school. So maybe this related also to economical and funding. So the recommendation for improvement for Jordan, we have to focus on the implement monitoring and accountability mechanism for the inclusive education strategy. Also, we have a promising institution, Royal Academy for Inclusive Education. So I think we have in Jordan to empower this academy, because I think it will play a critical role in enhancement of inclusive education in Jordan. Also, transition to educational evaluation, because we focus on the medical evaluation, build a school-based multidisciplinary team. And I think this, maybe it will be difficult to Jordan because of the economical issue. Also, maybe we can make a partnership with universities to offer specialization diploma, such as we have in Jordan, Yarmouk higher diploma in inclusive education. Maybe this is very important to make a collaboration to increase the number of teachers to prepare them in the inclusive education. Also related to the support rules, maybe we can also make some connection with international organization or partner to also to enhance the inclusive infrastructure. Also related to the assistive technology, AI, we need also support in this domain by providing these tools in the schools and the training of the students with disabilities, training of the teacher, using these tools in the curriculum of students with disabilities. Related also to the training of peer educator, related to the teacher, we need also support in this domain. Maybe we can focus on in-service training, increase funding equity. For example, shadow teacher, maybe we can find some plan to providing better educator, because from my observation in the US, better educator provided support for inclusive education. For United States, there is also some recommendation for the United States, because there is a problem in the resource distribution. There is underfunded or rural areas. There is problem in funding in this area. Also, maybe there is need to establish research or policy center, maybe governmental institution to focus on inclusive education or full inclusive education, because I think the future aspiration for US focus on full inclusive education, enhance also multidisciplinary capacity, because in my research also many teachers said that we need more staff in the multidisciplinary team, OT, or other specialization. So also, we have also to focus on the programs such as the program in the University of Northern Iowa, Panther Pathway. It's very important program that will help school, because there is a lack of teachers with high competences in the school. There's also some low-cost global innovation, because Jordan and US have problem in funding. So the conclusion, based on this comparative study, we note that there is some problem related to the inclusive education in Jordan and US. We have a problem in the inclusion, especially for severe disabilities in both countries. And we have a problem from my research in sensory impairments, visual impairments, and hearing impairments. We have a problem in Jordan in inclusion of these categories, severe and sensory impairments. So we can focus on this. Also, we have to focus on the educational model evaluation of students with disabilities. Also, teachers need to help by providing special education consultant to support them in evaluation and building IEP, because many teachers said that we need support in adaptation of curriculum, physical environment. We need also help in the building IEP, also how we can manage the group training in the classroom, because we know that we can use in the same classroom one-to-one training, small group, large group. So how teachers can manage all of these type of training in the same classroom. So we have a problem in the teacher training in peer educator. In the US also there is a problem in the preparation of peer educator because they need training. Many of them don't have uh, competences related to the dealing with the students with disabilities. So there is focus on these domains. Also, we have to focus on full inclusive education, not on the mainstreaming or integration, because we know that this is the right of people with disabilities to be in the same classroom with other students with disabilities. But we know that there is many challenges. There is money problem and funding, maybe sometimes related to the cultural problem. So we have to identify all of these challenges and put plans how to we can manage these challenges. So, final reflection, inclusive education is a journey, not a destination. So we have to provide the demands, maybe partnership, innovation, uh, all the demands that very important for inclusive education. Thank you.
Dr. Al-Zboon, thank you so much for sharing all that important research. It was really interesting to see the comparisons between the two countries. And I know you mentioned when you go back to Jordan, you have some new research projects you'll be working on when you go back. So we'll be excited to see that that work. I just want to open it up if anyone has any questions before we sign off. Please feel free to share any questions or comments with Dr. Al-Zboon. All right. Well, go
I,
ahead.
d- oh, I'm sorry, I had one. Is there anything going on with really early intervention in Jordan, 0 to 3, working with the families at all?
Yeah, in Jordan, there is a focus on early intervention. We have achievement in early intervention. Maybe we now focus on inclusive education and related to the early identification. We have problem in early identification, but there is emergent trends in Jordan to focus on in early intervention.
Good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
There's another question in the chat, two questions actually. What are the categories of disabilities in Jordan? So like in the United States, IDEA recognizes 13 disability categories. So what are the disability categories recognized in Jordan? And then the second part of that question is what is the major setback to full inclusion in Jordan?
Mhm. Related to the categories of disability in Jordan, we know that in the US there is 13 categories of disability based on the idea. In Jordan, also the law of the rights of people with disabilities identify that the categories of disabilities related to the restriction of in the functional life, in the visual, related to the visual abilities of the people. So we have specific also categories. In my research, unfortunately, there is focus only in disability. And when I ask teachers about learning disabilities, for example, they said that we don't focus on learning disabilities. We're providing for them therapeutic plans. We don't focus on providing specific IEP for these students. So I think that we have to focus on learning disabilities. Also, and related to the sensory disabilities or impairments, we have also problem in this domain. In Jordan, in general, we follow American categories related to the disability categories. So it is very similar to the US.
Thank you. We have another question in the chat. I would like to inquire how the support is provided across the school divisions in the USA from elementary to high school.
How? Can you repeat, please?
How is support provided across the school divisions in the USA from elementary to high school?
Yeah.
That's a huge
Look,
question.
yeah. I think maybe this question maybe can anyone from the audience have information about this connection between primary and secondary, because in my research I don't focus on the transition from primary and secondary division. Maybe if I want to answer about this question, I will not give all the details about this topic, but I maybe will ask also, and if any who is I don't know who asked this question. Maybe I give him the my email and send the answer of this question.
Sure, I can address this a little bit, and anyone else feel free to chime in. And if you'd like to uh, put your email in the chat, go ahead. I see someone has their hand up. Vanessa, do you want to address the question?
Oh no, was
Okay.
that's why I removed was not. I have a comment, but not for this question specifically. Thank you.
Okay, let me just talk about this question a little bit, and then Vanessa, please go ahead and ask your question. So my best response is that it really depends on, like, we don't have we have a federal system across the US that follows IDEA, but really schools, states and school districts have a lot of um, diff variation in how they provide services. So from let me look back at your question. In what Dr. Al-Zboon was sharing, that there's different settings that students could receive their education in. So they could be in a general education classroom with some special education support, with the the special education teacher or service provider either, pushing into the classroom or pulling the student out to work with them one-on-one or in a small group, or they could be in a self-contained classroom. We have the specialized schools, that can address different needs of students, whether it be, schools for the deaf, schools for the blind, schools that address behavior. So this is a really broad question that it's kind of difficult to answer in just a succinct response, because there's so much difference depending on the location and also the needs of the student. So if anyone else wants to chime in on that, feel free. Otherwise, Vanessa, go ahead and you can ask your question as well.
Yes. Thank you. I just want to say thank you for Dr. Hammer for this beautiful presentation. I'm a student. I'm a PhD student at University of Arizona, and I had the chance to meet and work with Dr. Eman in a collective, Global South collective. So while Dr. Emma was presenting, I saw some similarities. I'm from Mozambique in terms of some of the challenge on inclusive education. But I wanted to understand, Dr. Emma, when you say disability receptive schools, what do you mean exactly? And also, you also mentioned that there are some schools in Jordan that have support from inclusive education. I wanted to understand from where do you receive the support for these schools that are full or 100% inclusive schools? Also, you mentioned that in terms of identification process for US, there is process of child fund, and in US, the teachers, they do the referral. For you, in your understanding, this is a good approach or not? What do you feel in terms of having teachers doing the referrals for students with disabilities? Yeah, these are my three main questions, and thank you for the presentation.
Yeah, thank you, Venetia, for your questions. Related to the our classification of schools in Jordan, Ministry of Education bought this two categories of inclusive education because the first one receive any students with disabilities, but there isn't any modification in these schools. The other type of schools, these schools selected by Ministry of Education in Jordan and make a collaboration and partnership with international organizations such as USAID, GIZ, Mercy Corps, many international organizations, and with collaboration with these organizations, Ministry of Education prepare these schools to be inclusive school with for students with all types of disabilities. So, pioneering, we call it pioneering schools. So in Jordan, we gradually move toward inclusive education, and we adopt this this approach by selecting specific schools, make a connection and collaboration with international organizations that support and funding modification of these schools. So this is the differences between these two types. Related to the role of teachers in referral, I think teachers has a very critical role in referral. From my experience, I was an expert with one of international organization in Jordan, and we conduct a project about early intervention and early identification. And from this research, we find that teachers always has critical role in referral because we know a teacher deal with diverse students. So sometimes maybe the mother don't notice that there is a problem with that child, while the teacher notes that there is a difference between this child and other children. So I think referral is a very important role of teachers. Besides, they are prepared to know what is the development of the child, and if there is any problem in this development of the child, maybe teachers, because they are prepared, will discover this. So I think they have a critical role.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you so much. Are there any other questions or final questions or comments? Well, Dr. Al-Zboon, thank you again so much for sharing your research and your work with us. And I wish you the best. And I know you're leaving back to Jordan at the end of July. Your Fulbright will be completed. So I wish you the best of luck as you return back to Jordan and your few remaining weeks in northern Iowa.
Thank you. Thank you for CEC and the Division of International Special Education for your support and the researcher around the world. Thank you.
Thank you everyone for joining us this evening, and please be on the watch for future upcoming events for DICES. Have a good evening or morning or whatever time of day it is where you are.